All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to CDBG Third Thursdays at 3 for September. We are happy to be joined by Dan Fischer from USDA Rural Development. He is going to present about his programs. We love it when we have a guest star. But before we get to that, we just have a few quick announcements to run through before we pass it off to Dan. You can just keep moving. So really quick, just like every third Thursday, I want to give everyone an update on applications that we've received so far this year. We've received 45 applications in the categories listed there. We have 6 applications pending review. Go to the next slide, please. Here is a list of funding availability by category. That far right column tells you what funding is available in each category currently. We have a few, I think 3 commercial rehabs applications pending. We have 1 housing application pending, and we have 1 community facilities large application pending and 1 community facilities small pending, and I think 1 urgent need as well. We have no more funding for economic development this year. We have no more funding for urgent need as well. And one thing I would also like to note for Blueprint to Build, all the due dates for the applications are going to be November 14th, as it says online. We're looking at pushing back the Blueprint to Build due date to give some communities more time to apply for that. So just be aware of that, and we'll send out a message to everyone if that occurs. Next slide. A couple program updates. Our public hearing for 2026. Our draft annual action plan, we will have a public hearing about that as we normally do on October 2nd. I think everyone will be happy to hear that we did receive our 2025 grant agreement from HUD. So it seems like everything's being processed at the federal level. Recently this week, I went to our annual conference with community development organizations, and everyone's planning for next year. So that was good news there. So please join us for the public hearing. There will be an online registration link. We'll get that out soon when we get it from KHRC. Jason's got a few survey resources.
Yeah, so we discussed this last third Thursday. I was demoing the new tab form, just what we worked on based off of feedback from our consultant. I just want to let you know that the new survey and new tab forms are available. So we simplified the survey to sync up with the new tab form. Just pull it up here on screen. So again, pretty similar to how we used to create our tabulations, just we're only finding above and at or below rather than all those broken out columns. You are going off of total number of families in the service area and then breaking that out, finding your unique average family size, and all of that is auto populating. And then you, of course, compare that to the census data in order to justify your low to moderate income percentage. I kept the bottom the same, so you can still record your demographics just as you had been before. So again, that's in the resource library. And then I have uploaded the new survey form, which just corresponds to the new tab form. What we changed on here is we put a space for you to fill in the year. Just because we had gotten a few comments as to our form having the wrong year on it or it hadn't been updated yet. So we just wanted to let that be customizable for you guys in your community. So that way it's not something that hinges on our completion of it, and you can go forward with the surveys at your pace. And then we simplified some of the questions. So again, we were focusing on what HUD does with their survey forms, and we want 1 family per survey sheet, just so that way it's consistent for our tabulation and our verification here in office. So just remember, again, we're doing these new survey forms, and we want to approve 1 family per survey form. So that way it's a little bit more consistent for all the communities across the board. It's easier for the families to read and fill out. Again, we're only finding that above or at or below the 80% of the median income of that area. So pretty simplified question asking there. If you have any questions about those 2 forms, let me know. But again, you can find those in the CDBG resource library under the survey resources tab. I have them linked here. And when we send out these slides, you guys will have those links as well.
Yeah, and please, if you've already started using the old survey forms, you can continue using the old survey forms. But if you're going to go start a new survey, please use the new forms. Make sure before you start any survey, you reach out to our team for approval first. And if you have any questions or need some one-on-one training, don't be afraid to reach out to Jason. All right? Thanks, Jason.
Yeah.
One thing on public hearing notices, I think we had sent out a notification that public hearing notice needed to be published in the newspaper by, I think, 10/22.
Yeah.
We actually went back and redid the numbers, and it must be published in the newspaper by 10/23 to allow for citizen participation for that November 14th application due date. So just a reminder to everyone on that. We'll probably send this out in an email as well if we have not already. Couple announcements. Community Impact Tour, October 2025. I think we already have our communities lined up for this, but just reminding people, if you want to be a part of the Community Impact Tour to show off a CDBG project or any QPD project really in your area, you can go to this link and fill out this form. They've been a lot of fun so far. And here's something that leadership wanted us to share with everyone. There's a webinar about the transparency database that is going to be led by Rachel Willis related to HB 2304 and fulfilling those requirements. So if anyone is interested in attending that webinar, please join this webinar. If you have any specific questions, reach out to me about it and I'll provide some more information. And one final reminder, sorry for office hours. I know we had said we were going to have them this week. We actually scheduled it on a day when nobody was in the office. So we are going back to our original schedule. And I was at a conference this week and other people were out. So our original office hour schedule will be September 22nd, 3 to 4 p.m. and then bi-weekly from there. So please join us on Monday at 3 p.m. and there's the link. And with that, we'll pass it off to Dan. Give us 1 second to switch slides. All right. Take it away, Dan.
All right, thanks, Andrew. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. Greatly appreciate the opportunity to come and the invitation from Andrew and the CDBG team here to allow me to go over a little bit of our program stuff today. But so, as most of you may or may not know about rural development, we are one of the 3 agencies that used to be Farmers Home Administration, but we are take off and do the long-term loan financing as far as that goes. But within rural development, we have like 40 different programs to support rural America. Some with telecommunication programs, electric programs, community facilities, water and environmental, our business and cooperative, single-family housing, and multifamily housing. But so are just some of those. But we're going to spend most of the time, I think that most everybody is more in the line of wanting to know more about our community programs, which is just the water and environmental and our community facilities. So we'll work for those today. So if you want to go to the next slide for me. Just a little bit more about rural development in Kansas. We do have our 4 offices, the state office here in Topeka, and then our field offices down in Iola, Newton, and out in Hayes to cover the northwest corner, southwest, and southeast areas. But at this point in time, several years ago, we did centralize and try to get specific loan specialists into each office to be able to handle those. Due to the recent or the not so recent anymore, but the DRP or the deferred resignation program, we lost a tremendous amount of staff within the state. Over 70% of our staff took advantage of that. So right now in community programs, it's just myself and Mike Pan, my program director, that are handling projects. So as some of you online already know about, it's just appreciate the patience in working with Mike and I to be able to get to your projects and questions in a timely manner. Because yeah, we do still strive to make that happen and get you guys answers as quickly as we can. So, but with that, we'll go to the next slide and we'll just dive more into the actual water and environmental program that we have. So for water projects, our typical funding is for either new distribution or treatment or rehab of those. We also can do the wastewater projects such as improvements to the collection system or new treatment. And then we also do stormwater projects. We haven't had many of those in the past because it is harder to determine the grant eligibility for those, as there's not necessarily a revenue stream that is tied to those. So some of our communities kind of back away from using our funding for that, but I mean, it is still available, as well as the solid waste projects. So if you have a landfill or something, compact station or something like that somebody comes to you and would like to build, we can sure do that through this program as well. Next slide. To be able to do those, a little bit more about that, the eligible applicants, and from that side, so population has to be less than 10,000. The current interest rates are somewhat attractive. I have in the slide very attractive. I probably need to update that a little bit, but because they have came up over the last year. But I still, for the most part, when you can take a 40-year loan or the life of the facility to pay that back, anywhere from 3.75 up to 5.25 is still a fairly decent rate compared to some other funding out there on the private sources. So and then with that, applications are definitely taken all year round. Our fiscal year is October 1 to September 30. So we are coming up on very closely to the end of our fiscal year, and funding is actually getting fairly tight at this point in time under this water and waste program. But for those, the eligible entities are public bodies, so such as our municipalities, cities, townships, if we want to break it down that far, counties as well. The special purpose districts, that could be either a rural water district, a sewer improvement district, or just an improvement district on its own. And then our federally recognized Native American tribes, the 4 of them up here in the northeast corner of Kansas, and nonprofit organizations. That is more for some of our technical assistance grants that we have out there that qualify for those rather than our full loan program. So, all right. So under that, to be able to do that types of financial assistance, like I mentioned, we do have our direct loan program. It can go up to 40 years. It's not saying that the community or the entity has to take the full 40 years to pay that back. We can do that. We have no prepayment penalty. So actually, there is a clause in the letter of conditions and in several different documents that we do have signed at the time of closing. That does go over if, because you are required, or the community is required to submit annual financial information, whether that be an audit for debt that's over $1 million that is outstanding with us, or just regular financial statements. But anytime that we can show that you can afford commercial credit or some other credit to be able to pay us off and pay that down early, we would, per regulation, require you to do that. So, but in the grants, there are still some special set-asides that I'll go over in a little bit later, but also through our direct program, we do have some grant funding available. We do look for, like I said, the direct loan repayment ability first before we kick into the grant on that. And then we do have also our guaranteed loans. These are a little bit tighter or tougher for a community or a public body to do due to the cash basis law here in Kansas and the need for bonds anyway. So it's just type of Sometimes it's cheaper just for you to go out and do your own financing rather than coming through the guaranteed loan, because it does take a taxable bond issuance where typically through your own private bond, you can get it non-taxable. But and then the technical assistance, as I mentioned, some of those are for the nonprofits. Through our national office programs, we do provide funding to National Rural Water Association, which funnels down to KRWA to be able to help and promote and get those circuit riders out to be able to help the communities with their technical assistance in helping those get their systems back up and running and from that side. So that is one of those types of technical assistance that we have as well. The other one is through RCAP, which MAP or Midwest Assistance Program is a member of. They have a technical assistance grant through our national office to be able to provide funding to them to be able to help communities with their services as filling out the applications and other services that we need throughout the state as well. So, all right, next slide. Interest rates, like I mentioned, are fairly attractive at this point in time still. As of July 1 through September 30 is our time frame, because they do change quarterly. So come September or October 1, there is potential to change. What I have noticed in the just doing the calculations, I don't think that they will change this quarter. However, for the start of next come January, I noticed that we do have one data point that is way lower at this point in time to be able to start those calculations. So maybe come January 1, we'll see some movement. But I think as of October 1 for our next quarter, October through December, these that I have on the slide here, you can see on the slide, will probably remain the same. Only potential is they might drop an eighth, but I'm not going to promise that at all. I just thinking that. But so with that, we go off of the census data and our state non-metropolitan MHI now based off of the 2020 census information, which began on October 1 of 2023. Is 64,872. So any community over that MHI that we have listed would automatically qualify for the market rate. There's no adjustments for that. But and then we do have a tier for the intermediate rate, and that is for communities with an MHI or medium household income of 51,898 or less, and not correcting a health or sanitary issue with their project. So that's where those typically come in. But anything below the 51,898 would potentially qualify for the poverty interest rate, as long as the project also corrects a health or sanitary issue. So hopefully I made that clear. And if not, you guys can ask questions, I guess, at some point in time. But all right, next one. All right, so getting into the planning grants, our best one that we have right now is the Special Evaluation Assistance in Rural Community Household, search for short. As any federal government agency, we do like our acronyms, so that's what we like to and strive for. So search grants are for communities that are 2,500 population or less, and they do require no matching funds. So they are 100% direct grant from us as USDA Rural Development, up to a maximum of 30,000. So that one has not changed. With that, we can also do our pre-development planning grants, typically designed for communities with matching funds available. So typically they are for the communities that are a little bit more populated and over the 25,000. This one does take a 25% match. So our percentage is only 75%, with 60,000 being the maximum that we can put into that. So
Can I ask a question?
You bet.
Yeah, what kind of projects fall into that pre-development grant category? What would one of those look like?
Those are more for the developing the preliminary engineering reports
Right.
under our water and waste systems. So any environmental, anything that has to be done upfront before us making the final decision and evaluation to make the obligation. So typically just, yeah, that. I know a lot of them have done on the pre-development grants that are probably more over the 30,000. We've went ahead and allowed those cities to be able to do that through and do the actual sewer collection, TV or cleaning and TV in ahead of potentially putting together the PER for getting a better estimation on what it's going to take to be able to get the system up and running and from that side. But that's one of the bigger things that we've done with pre-development grants.
Okay.
Is those, but the search grant is the same way. I mean, it's just for pre-development stuff, the PERs, and potential for environmental, helping with the environmental reports as those are needed as well for our programs. So,
Dan, how many of those do you typically see that you guys actually award?
it was down a little bit this year, but when the program first rolled out, they were hoping that each state would do at least 2 per year. And then we were overachievers, I guess, in Kansas. I will brag on ourselves a little bit and the team at that point in time, because I think at one year we had at least 7. And typically there's either 5, but I think that we had 3 of them this year between the search and the pre-development grant. This year is what we got on the books. So, okay. All right. And then our emergency community water assistance grant, ECWAG for short, funding level for this year was 10.4 million available. And that was and this one is a nationwide set aside. So as with that, I mean, the state of Kansas competes against all the other states for this kind of allocation as it comes from a special appropriation. So eligibility limits on that, the 150,000 for repairs, and then 1 million is the limit for creating a new source or improvements to a treatment. But so under this, I mean, it does take an actual natural disaster or some kind of natural event to be able to trigger into this and be eligible for this program. So tornado, earthquake or something like that takes out your water tower. The other one that we done this year was some freezing damage that took out some interior piping on a water tower, as well as some wells. Was one of them as well that went through the repair program. But so and then simplified process, that one is more of if you can stay within those limits of the 150 or to $1 million, we can process it faster because it takes a lot less extensive preliminary engineering report or PER to be able to get that done. So and a little less stringent on the environmental report as we move forward too with those. But if we have to do the ECWAG in combination with other funding, regular funding, then we do have to go through our full processing and regular funding process. So trying to think. The other ones that we are in the process of, we had some communities come to us for drought situations as well. So, I mean, if you have the documentation that your well levels have dropped over the last year, or either that or within the next 12 months, you anticipate having a tremendous amount or an intimate decline in water quality or quantity, we can also look at that under this program as well. So it's not always reactive, but I mean, there is some proactive ability with this program too. So, all right. So the to apply, RD Apply is our electronic web-based application system. So it is required for all new projects to go through. It does take a level 2 e-authentication level to be able to get access and work within that system. So with that, we had, as rural development, have determined that it has improved our processing because a little bit and it's helped us tremendously with the number of projects and the loss of the staff that we've had over the last few months here, because a lot of that data that you guys in communities and technical assistance providers put into that RD apply automatically pulls into our underwriting system. So therefore, it's not taking our time as staff to be able to re-enter that data like we had to in the past. It's already there and gives us more time to be able to fully work on the underwriting and the financial assistance on that part. But so again, the technical assistance available to help with this. I put in here the Midwest Assistance Program map. North Central Regional Planning Commission has also helped us tremendously as governmental assistance services here lately. So if you are familiar with any of those or need contacts for those, I can get you those as well. They are several of the ones that have been helping and supportive of us in getting those applications into it. So, but all right, next slide. So just a little bit about the engineering reports. We strive to try to get as many alternatives into a preliminary engineering report as we can. Hopefully there's at least more than 2 to be identified and discussed. And we do look for this to take in the whole system. I know some communities only are looking for just one part, but we would like the engineers and your engineer that you hire to be able to do that. Look at the system as a whole, so we can also get a determination of what potential funding source or revenues or funding you might need in the future, as well as the part that you are looking at right now. Maybe, like I said, if you need to update your tower or repaint it, but you also know that they come back with 5-10 years down the road that you're going to need well improvements or something like that. We definitely want to know that so that we can factor that in as we set the user rates as we move forward. But so community to assist with identifying alternatives. Like I said, just work with your engineers as well. I mean, you're the ones that are there in the communities and know the system more than the engineer sometimes with that. And if there's something that sounds right about putting valves here rather than somewhere else that they typically recommend or somewhere like that, that's just being able to work together is in collaboration is key to those. But and then again, priority points is given for regionalization under our program as well. So if there's, and that's why we look for an alternative for regionalization to be put into these reports as they go through. But and then the selection of alternative, think of the short, but as the long-term solutions as well. With that in mind, I mean, sometimes, like I said, I mean, the regionalization and the economies of scale that can be brought out of that by, combining 2 separate sources together is sometimes the long-term better solution. But, and so, all right. And then in there, the O&M cost, just also include the existing O&M, but the entire system in the PER. Just with that, I mean, sometimes if you're adding additional lines in your treatment plant or skids or something, we also know that there's going to probably additional electricity or other maintenance costs that have to go in there. So just make sure that we are thinking about those as you work with your engineer to put together that preliminary engineering report. But and then again, they also need to be realistic, pretty common sense, but sometimes we get some very far-fetched numbers come through, but just keep that in mind as well. But and then, like I said, plan for the first full year of operation, even though it could be several years out. So that typically comes in, like I said, with the treatment plants, takes at least a year and a half to get those built. So over the time, O&M could go up and from that side, but rates, just keep that in mind, that rates should rise every year as well because of your O&M and capital cost. Debt remains constant unless you graduate. So, okay. Well, I went through that, but do you want me to keep going
No,
with
we got plenty of time. Does anyone have any questions about those water sewer programs before we move on to community facilities? Does that make sense, Dan?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, thanks. A lot of great information. I learned a bunch from this.
Yeah.
Definitely. Anyone out there have any questions about any of the programs Dan just talked about?
It's okay to distribute your slides.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we will share the slides with everyone after the presentation, probably tomorrow. Everybody? Okay.
I did a very good job.
Yeah, you did a great job. No, this is very informative.
All right. All right. So we'll just go on to the community facilities. There is a lot of similarities, but there's still some differences between the two programs. But
There is a question that just popped.
okay.
The allocation of WWW loan.
Yeah, from Gary Smith. What is the
Okay.
state allocation for the loans and grants? I got the water.
Typically, our state allocation for the loan side is somewhere around 15 million for the loan, and 4.5 million is what we got this year on the grant side. So those are typical that we get, but the best part about it is, over the course of the year, that if there are other states that don't use their allocations, we do have what we call a mid-year and a year-end pooling. So mid-year is actually sometimes late April, early May. And that is when the national office will pull back from the states that have not used at least 50% of their allocation into the national office reserves, which gives us, as Kansas, the opportunity to go reach for those and fund more projects ahead of waiting for next year or the next year after that. But and then year-end pooling is typically the first part of August. And that is where the national office will yank all remaining funds that states have not used over their initial allocation back and put it into a national office reserve, and therefore gives us another opportunity to go after those dollars. So, the best part about it is, Kansas is typically maybe sometimes 200% of the loan and grant that we are given in those initial allocations at the beginning of the fiscal year, or shortly after, whenever the continuing resolutions come finalized. So, but yeah, good question, Gary. Thank you. All right. Seeing nothing else, we'll move on to the community facilities program. Eligible entities is kind of like on the water and waste side, public bodies, again, municipalities, counties, townships. This one, they also do the special purpose districts, the Native American tribes, as well as our nonprofit organizations. And this one expands a little bit more for community facilities because sometimes we get mostly in the healthcare side of things, because we can do hospitals and medical clinics too that are more on the nonprofit side rather than private pay. So, but program information on this population has to be 20,000 or less. So we can do bigger communities and bigger projects through this. Regulation still does allow us to go up to 40 years or the life of the facility. So community facility side, we typically either look at 30-year on a building, or if they really need to, stretch it out to 35 hardly ever go to the full 40, just because of the life of the facility. Plus, if it comes down to, and potentially with over the course of the time, or that they struggle with payments, it gives us that ability, especially with healthcare, not knowing exactly where that's headed with some of the new regulations and stuff that are coming down. But it gives us the ability to stress those payments out, those extra 5 years, and re-amortize and go from there, if that's truly needed to be able to help to keep them sustainable and feasible. So again, with this program, applications are taken all year round. So, and I will put a plug in for the picture that is on the slide. That one is our new dorm that we put up at Southwestern College down in Winfield a year and a half ago. So, but so yeah, they're still pouring a little concrete when I took that one around for the sidewalks and stuff. But yes, it is a very nice dormitory compared to what they had right to the east of that. So very proud of that one. So, okay, next slide, please. Again, type of assistance, we can do our direct loans and in our grants. The grants on this program are extremely limited. Typically we had like somewhere around 250 to 300,000 in grants, but last year and this year, I think we only ended up with like 40,000 in our state allocation. And not that we didn't have grant funding within the program, but it all went more towards congressionally direct spending grants that are some Congress people had put out there. I mean, I put a plug in kind of for our folks here in Kansas, our senators and representatives on that they didn't take, full advantage of that, knowing what, or we educated them on what that would do for other constituents, but some other states, kind of gobbled all that up. So it hampered us on that side, but we are continuing to work with them in educating them on what those can, because it comes all out of the same allocations and same pots. So if you take it away for those direct spending in direct projects, then we don't have it for our regular allocations. So, but and then again, the guaranteed loans. I don't know that I mentioned this on this, but I mean, the guaranteed loans, I mean, you would work with a local lender or a regional lender, or if we need to, up to a national lender under those. But with those, we're hoping that the interest rate that you could get is a little bit less, because I mean, we can guarantee their loss, should that happen, up to 80% on those. So with that, it reduces their risk. Therefore, we're hoping that it should reduce the interest rate to the actual applicant and borrower. So, all right. Again, the median household income is based off of our census data. Same numbers do apply. And actually, this quarter, with the interest rate going completely up, we had been able to fund everything at what we considered the market rate, which used to be the 4.5%, but with the increases in the interest rate, we went back to the 3-tier deal. It's not quite the same as our water and waste, with the differences in the where we can set with the poverty rate based off of regulation rather than 80% of the market rate. So, but and probably confusing everybody.
No, sorry to stop you. We got a question in the chat there from Janet. It says, is this just for new facilities or rehab or repair?
The community facilities can be for anything. Yes, rehab, repair, new facilities are anything. So, but
good question.
We can do that through the HVAC systems if that's what you just need to upgrade. But yeah, it will take a preliminary architect report to be able to get that done. But so, yeah, good question. But and then on this one, I put in a picture of our new hospital that we just put up down in Ellenwood. So that's the so yeah. Okay. And this is just another list of additional, or just a little bit more extensive on what we can do under this program. It's probably easier to say what we can't do rather than what we can do, but under this program, because like I said, there's the fire and rescue stuff. We can go for the hospitals, nursing homes, food pantries, streets, roads, and bridges too. We've had a few communities take us up on the streets part. Haven't had too many of the counties or townships take us up with our funding as far as on the roads and bridges, but we know that there are a lot of other KDOT funding out there as well that so good, but there's potential that we can partner with them as well under this program. So if you find somebody that is coming up just a few dollars short to be able to or needs additional matching dollars, we would be glad to talk to you about that as well. So but yeah, just anything essential to the community as well. Other than we do not do recreation. So swimming pools, golf courses, that kind of infrastructure is completely out. So I will throw that out there. So
That's good to know. Yeah, and just so people are aware, most of you are, these are great matching funds for CDBG projects, and they have been used for matching funds in many CDBG projects. So please keep that in mind when you're out there looking for match dollars. Anything else?
no, the other slide, I guess, is just my contact information. And like I said, with the depleted, the deputy state director is my full-time job. I'm also acting as the business program director, acting single family housing program director. Thank goodness Mike is here for the community programs, but Jimmy Joe, my boss, just did tell me that she is looking to get somebody else to do the single family housing. So I'll just be back to the two, but still.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's a heck of a title there. It looks like we got another question in the chat from Beth Ann. Is waste management equipment included?
So Beth Ann, I'm assuming that you're talking about potential for a trash truck. But yes, we have funded those as well.
Those are not cheap.
No. Good guess. Yeah, any other questions for Dan while he's here? Really appreciate it, Dan. That was really informative. Yeah, we will get these slides out to everyone on our CDBG. You know, we have about a list of 1,000 people that we send emails out to, so we'll make sure they get all this.
Oh, okay. So now my inbox is really gonna fill.
Yeah.
Because they're not willing to ask questions. No, just kidding.
Yeah, and we'll
We are.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just saying that we are here to serve you guys as a rural community. I greatly appreciate everybody in the support that they do and in making sure that our rural communities survive. So that's what we're here for, is rural development as well. So again, thank you so much for your time and attention. So, but please feel free to hit me up. So.
All right. Well, appreciate everyone joining us today. We will send out the slides and we will get the recording posted online. Thanks again to Dan Fischer for joining us, and we will see you next month. Take care.
Well,